Hello, everybody. Welcome. I'm Alka Dhupkar from the Mumbai chapter of Network of Women in Media. With elections in Maharashtra scheduled soon by November, we have decided to host an election series to help us understand this upcoming election in a more informed light. So I'll also share the presentation side by side just to. Yeah. Can you see the presentation? Is it open?
Yes.
Okay. Able to see. Prachi, if you could just go to the title of our presentation, and I'm not able to do that. So,
Uh, Reservation Politics, what to look for in
yes,
2024. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, I can see it on the screen, Alka.
okay.
Yeah.
So basically, we have decided to come with the more informed light. As part of this exercise, today we invite Professor Suhas Palshikar and Dipti Raut. Thank you, both of them. I'll first Palchikar also have slide to introduce him. I hope that is on the screen. So Suhas Palshikar is based at Pune, India, taught political science from 1978 to 2016. He is the honorary co-director of Lokniti, a research program on comparative democracy, CSDS Delhi, and chief editor of Lokniti's biennial journal brought out by SAGE, Studies in Indian Politics. He was also editor of Samaj Prabodhan Patrika during 1990 to 2004. Suhas Palshikar has been associated with the National Election Study since the 1960 election. 1996 election. He has also been involved in various research projects of Lokaniti focusing on the study of public opinion in India. Professor Palshikar was one of the principal investigator of the international project on democracy in South Asia. Professor Palshikar writes in English and Marathi on contemporary Indian politics and has also written extensively in academic publications on the theme of democratic politics in India. He has been a frequent contributor, as we all know, to the Indian Express. Sometimes I should also say Times of India podcast and journals like Seminar and EPW. He has authored and co-authored many books and research papers. The latest, Politics and Society Between Elections, and his research papers, The Expanding Role of uh, Majoritarianism in India and Caste, Class and Vote, Consolidation of the Privilege and Dispersal of the Underprivileged is significant in the context of our today's discussion. Thank you, Mr. Palshikar. We also have award-winning journalist Dipti Raut, who is the deputy editor of Divya Marathi, Bhaskar Group's Marathi Daily in Chhatrapati Sambhajinagar. Her books explore the cultural politics of Kumbh Mela and plight and successes of women farmers who lost their husbands to suicide. Her impactful ground reports have earned her recognition. Previously, she worked with Nazar, IBN Lokmat, and Maharashtra One regional news channels. And she also had a meaningful stint with the Marathi newspaper called Lok Satta. So thank you very much. I think the information on the slides will continue and we'll now start the discussion. Professor Palsh,
Alka,
yeah,
just a
sorry.
minute. The slides are not moving, so maybe you can stop screen sharing or go over to the slide and double click again.
Okay.
Or we don't need, I mean, we can see the speakers directly, otherwise we can
I
stop.
think that's fine. We can just see the speakers.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
That's fine. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
This is better. Yeah, yeah.
Sorry for the mess, huh?
No, that's not at all.
Yeah. I think this is fine, right?
You can stop screen sharing. This
Yeah,
is fine.
yeah.
Yes,
This is
yes.
perfect.
Yeah.
I'm really sorry about the
No,
inconvenience.
all fine.
Sir, yes, to start with, as many journalists who are attending or going to watch this later on YouTube of our new channel, basically for their understanding, there we think that they may not be familiar with the ongoing issue. So could you please clarify the difference between Maratha and Kunbi?
If one were able to clarify that difference, then the entire controversy over who is Maratha and who is Kunbi wouldn't have been there. You know, historically in Maharashtra and in many other states of India, there are certain peasantry caste clusters. They are part of that cluster and there are internal differences. Likewise, in Maharashtra, there are some sections of the larger Maratha caste cluster which are recognized as Kunbis. And that recognition comes either from the records that they have for their historical family lineages, or in material terms, from the kind of lands that they have owned historically. And the Marathas, who are treated and understood as being slightly higher in the caste hierarchy. Historically, they are also supposed to be having greater clout in the society, in the village level. So this distinction between the Marathas and Kunbis is absolutely, one may say, fuzzy, not very easy to distinguish from each other. Though very careful families from both Maratha and Kunbi communities would not intermarry, intermarriage is also not exactly absent between these two communities. So historically, you will find that Kunbis were those who were more or less ordinary lay farmers, peasants, and Marathas were those who were supposed to be the cream of the Maratha community as such. That's where I can probably stop at this moment, because I think there is no point in going into the anthropological distinction between them that was historically made by scholars like Iravati Karve and others.
Before moving to next question, a small question again. People outside Maharashtra consider all Maharashtrians are Maratha. I mean, I was also surprised to hear that. But yes, if somebody that unfamiliar to in Maharashtrian culture and caste system, how would you explain them who are
Yes.
Maratha?
No, then I think that's very simple, because outside of Maharashtra, because of the various rulers that emerged from Maharashtra from the 17th century onwards, till the British took over, the rulers were known outside of Maharashtra as Maratha rulers, where the term Maratha mostly refers to not caste, but the language identity or the linguistic identity. So when we talk of Maharashtrians or people speaking Marathi language as their family language, that's not the entire community which is Maratha by caste. The caste of the Maratha Kunbis is a specific caste group in Maharashtra that consists of roughly 30% of the population. Though these population figures in the entire discussion that we would have are extremely controversial and loose, because as we know, there has been no clear caste censuses since 1931.
Yes. Manoj Jarange Patil is gaining momentum and support for, yes, for those. Sandhya, if you could mute yourself. Yeah, sorry for that trouble. So Manoj Jarange Patil is gaining momentum and support. For those who don't know who Manoj Jarange Patil is, he has become a face of Maratha reservation issue or demand in the state. He hails from Jalna and has taken a pledge that he will not stop until his demands are met. Now, Palshikar sir, tell us that in his demand for Kunbi certificates for Marathas, are they practical and feasible? Kunbis are already classified as OBCs and receive reservation benefits. However, it's unclear whether all Marathas can basically get Kunbi certificates.
Yeah. You know, this demand is not new, but at the same time extremely complicated. Many workers or activists from the Maratha community have always argued that there is no real difference between Marathas and Kunbis, and therefore if Kunbis are backward, then all Marathas should be treated as Kunbis and as backward, and therefore should be given the benefit of being OBCs, other backward communities. Now, the difficulty in this is that the Mandal Commission clearly recommended in 1980s that Kunbis as a subgroup is backward. However, Marathas as a general group is not entitled to be treated as backward. In other words, the Mandal Commission was not convinced that all Marathas are OBCs, and it was also not convinced that all Marathas are Kunbis. The moment you accept this demand, the first difficulty that would arise, therefore, would be a legal constitutional issue of including Marathas in the category of Kunbis. The second difficulty would be roughly among those 30% of the Marathas, if 10% are treated as Kunbis, because again there is no clarity on the numbers, then giving Kunbi certificates to all Marathas would mean that whatever reservations and other benefits are given to the Kunbis will be then exercised by the entire larger community, and therefore even among the Marathas themselves there would be a tough competition for getting those benefits. The third difficulty is that then this 30% community becomes an OBC group, which would therefore mean that other OBCs would be pushed out from the benefits of the OBC schemes, reservations, and other facilities. Thus, there are threefold difficulties. One is constitutional, the other is internal to Maratha Kunbis, and the third is the relationship between the Marathas and the other OBCs.
Before going to Dipti, I have a small question. Because we are discussing all these reservation issues on the backdrop of upcoming assembly election, in your opinion, how we are going to resolve this Maratha protest, which is, a center of the Maharashtra's politics at this point?
Are you asking me?
Yes, yes.
I don't know. I
Okay.
don't think there would be an easy resolution either way.
Okay. But there are 6 parties and everyone is trying to get their pie of the issue,
Yes.
basically.
Everyone is saying that they support the demand, and then everyone is alleging that the others are sabotaging that demand. The fact of the matter is that in spite of this unanimity or consensus across political parties, the Supreme Court, a 5-judge bench of the Supreme Court, struck down the legislation passed by the Maharashtra government. Subsequently, Maharashtra government has yet again passed a legislation, and that is now sub judice. It is before the High Court of Bombay. However, as I can see it, it is going to be an extremely tough constitutional legal battle. Even if the High Court were to sort of approve the reservation bill that is now passed by the Maharashtra legislature, it is unlikely that the Supreme Court would turn down its own ruling of a 5-judge bench, which was a unanimous ruling. So that's going to be very complicated, and that's why I said that there is no resolution in sight, in spite of the fact that all parties posture that they support this demand.
Dipti, I would like to ask you on this note that on the ground, because you are currently posted in Chhatrapati Sambhajinagar, where lot of activities are unfolding. So on the ground, how is the Maratha reservation issue unfolding? Are Marathas successfully obtaining Kunbi certificate? I mean, yes.
On the basis of Shinde Commission, which was appointed to verify around Maharashtra, there are 1 lakh, more than 1 lakh Marathas, they could be certificate. But now, as Palshikar said, sir said, the issue has become more complex and complicated because in central election, Maratha reservation issue was burning. But as you mentioned, it's leading this
Dipti, sorry to bother you. Your audio is
Manoj
very-
Zarage party.
Yeah.
It's not clear.
Now. Just keep your mic or laptop closer to you.
Yes. In Lok Sabha election, this movement succeeded to raise a tempo that more than 20 constituencies, Marathas and non-Marathas played very decisive role But now, in the coming election, the confusion is more because though Manoj Sarangi party being the leader, his policy is not clear about
Sorry,
the
sorry, Dipti. Is it?
election politics.
Dipti, hello. I'm really sorry.
Lok Sabha election.
Yeah, no, I'm really sorry. Dipti, if you could just join back with better network and audio clarity. Lot of noise and your voice is breaking.
Yes, okay, okay. Yes,
Yes, thank you. So meanwhile, Palshikar sir, I wanted to ask you, we have just now discussed that the government came up with another 10% quota and lot of fellowships, scholarships. Do you think that the ruling party is hoping to gain by these offers? Actually, they are offering things, right? I mean, whatever the welfare schemes and everything. Do you think that the ruling party will gain out of this?
They are hoping. Yes, you are right. Every time the ruling party passes a bill or resolves anything in favor of the Maratha community, they think that this would sway the Maratha votes. That is what the UPA government did in 2014 when they first passed the reservation bill. The history is that they didn't, but that is because in 2014, entire politics changed. With the rise of Mr. Narendra Modi, politics changed so much that these issues didn't matter then. This time, though the present government, the Mahayuti government, wants to cash on the basis of this, I'm not sure they would be able to do it because there are far too many issues involved in it. And in all likelihood, the Maratha community now sees through the game that every party says that we support reservations, but no party can do anything for their reservations. And therefore, this is an unending kind of a political drama which is unfolding. As to the second part, free ships, fellowships, hostels, and other facilities, if that are being implemented someone like you people and particularly Ms. Dipti would be able to tell us.
Yes. We have discussed 30% Marathas. Again, that is a random figure. We go by 1930s caste census and say. Similarly, we know that the chunk of OBCs is also 30% in Maharashtra. And OBCs are considered a consolidated vote bank here. But they are currently facing threats and they are protesting. According to you, is their fear justified?
Just a quick small difference with you, which is that in Maharashtra, the OBCs as such never came together, even during Mandal time and since then. Bhujbal, for example, did try to consolidate the OBC bloc. Gopinath Munde, the leader of the BJP then, also tried the same. However, there are various reasons why they didn't come together, but the fact of the matter is that OBCs in Maharashtra did not ever come together as a political bloc, did not stand behind any particular party. There was no strong demand on behalf of the OBCs as such, and they are more or less fragmented. In one part of the state, you will find that the Mari or Gardener community is predominant among the OBCs. Dhangar, the shepherd community, the other important OBC community, is predominant in parts of southern Maharashtra. In central Maharashtra and Marathwada region, where the theatre of Maratha agitation is currently headquartered, it is the Vanzari community to which the Munde family belongs that dominates OBC politics. And as you move eastward in Vidarbha region, it is the Teli community and various other smaller communities among the OBCs that are prevalent. Their demands are different, their aspirations are different, their economic conditions are different, and therefore it is unlikely that they can come together easily as one bloc. On the flip side note, because of this Maratha agitation, for the first time, a situation has arisen in Maharashtra where OBCs might subconsciously start considering themselves as one vis-a-vis the Marathas, because they see the Maratha demand as a threat to their interests.
And then the obvious question is, do you think that Maratha vote will consolidate and OBC and both will benefit the ruling party or the opposition?
You know,
Very basic, but again, that is the interesting point, and that is what we all journalists are looking for, right?
Yes.
The answers.
yes, for a long, long time, let's say more than now 20 years, the Marathas have ceased to be one consolidated political bloc. It is no more a consolidated political bloc. So this idea that Maharashtra has one political bloc of Marathas and a party that wins that bloc can win elections is in a sense outdated now. At least since 2004, election data or survey data shows that there is no evidence that any single party really wins Maratha votes. Obviously, one reason is that Maharashtra politics is based on alliances for the last 25 and more years. When you have alliances, there is unlikelihood of any single party getting votes from any large caste group like Marathas. Congress traditionally used to enjoy Maratha votes. With the split in the Congress party, and since the 1980s, that has become history. Now, some people argue that Sharad Pawar's NCP used to get a larger share of Maratha votes. However, that also has now become redundant with the split in Sharad Pawar's NCP and two NCPs coming up. Also, historically, BJP and Shiva Sena have tried to win Marathas so that Congress doesn't benefit from Maratha votes. Like, for example, if you want to look at this small bit of election data, I can tell you that at least since the last 3-4 elections, the Maratha vote is actually divided among these four major players: the Congress, the NCP, the BJP, and Shiv Sena. And now with the split in Shiv Sena and NCP, there would be a further fragmentation of Maratha votes. Only when parties come together and campaign together, they can win Maratha vote. What is true of Maratha votes is equally true of OBC vote. And therefore, I might be disappointing those of your friends and colleagues who want a simple answer that Marathas are with this party and OBCs are with that party. That's just not the case.
Okay, but then if I'm not wrong, last time the number of the Maratha MLAs were with BJP. We don't know about the votes.
Sure.
Okay.
Maratha
Also-
MLAs, true.
Yes, yes.
Large number of
MLAs.
Maratha MLAs were elected on BJP ticket last time.
Yes.
This time we will have to wait and see what happens. I am not too sure that that will happen this time also. But that is because, more than 50% MLAs in the state are Marathas.
Yeah.
And therefore, any party would be dominated by Marathas,
Yes.
more or less, unless that party is ideologically an OBC party. And that is where the earlier point that Maharashtra doesn't have an OBC party becomes relevant. That if you don't have an OBC party, then every party will try to get votes from all communities more or less equally.
Yeah. Now I have a question about ongoing Dhangar protest, because we have discussed Maratha, we have discussed OBC. So Dhangar continue to protest because the BJP promised them ST reservation in 2014. We all remember how Devendra Fadnavis had promised them that first thing he will do it for them. But the promise did not get fulfilled. Now, according to you, will this ongoing protest ever be resolved?
Again, I might sound cynical, but show me a political party which doesn't support a demand by any particular caste group. They can't afford to do that in electoral politics. So yes, all political parties would have supported the Dhangar demand, but it is just again very difficult politically, because the moment you take their demand seriously and push Dhangars into the category of scheduled tribes, the scheduled tribes of Maharashtra will be up in arms. They are already publicly opposed to the
Yes.
because you have a certain amount of reservations, and if you keep adding numbers or people into that group, competition will be greater, and the original Adivasis who are in the ST group might lose. This is similar to, some of you might be knowing, this is similar to the demand of the Gujjars in Rajasthan to be treated as scheduled tribes, and the Meenas of Rajasthan are violently opposed to that because it would mean that there would be a competition to them. That similar situation is unfolding in Maharashtra.
I wanted to ask you this question about Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar has envisioned a casteless society. However, given the current social fragmentations, basically demand of more reservation, how can Maharashtra progress, or how do you see the politics shaping up in future, say for next 10 years?
No, that first part about Ambedkar's vision, in a sense, doesn't apply here, simply because in spite of that, and along with that, we have accepted the idea that a certain amount of reservations is necessary for bringing communities on par, and till they come on par, give them fair representation in administration as well as in politics. So I don't think that there is any contradiction between the two. But to the second part, yes, what seems to be the reality is that competitive politics means that every community would be only eager to get more and more reservations, and therefore all political demands would center around questions of reservations. Who gets how much a reservation? That would become the central issue. And that is where the Maratha issue has also been sort of facing a deadlock. Because if you agree with the 50% ceiling, upper limit that the Supreme Court has imposed, then all reservations have to be accommodated only in those 50%. And that's why many politicians are now saying that let us breach that 50% limit and make it whatever, 60% or whatever. There is no discussion about the details yet, but that can be done only by the central government, the union government, and therefore the parliament. The government of India and the BJP have been very wary of handling this issue, and therefore every state you will find these demands are happening, and everywhere complications are arising. So in politics and in the assembly politics or elections of Maharashtra, every party would only make noises. They won't have any concrete promises to give. But if you ask me, all parties are so clueless about how to handle this question that they would be happy to use reservation as a beating stick to emotionally mobilize different sections of the society in a competitive manner. That is going to happen.
If we come back to Maharashtra, could you tell us about the voting patterns of the basically Marathas and OBCs again? Or for that matter, how do you guess it? We know that you are also involved in that part of, understanding the voting pattern. So how much should we rely on it, A? And could you tell us about the voting patterns of these two communities?
As you yourself pointed out, I have been associated with this national election study under which we do surveys. Our surveys are typically post-election surveys, immediately after the election, where one of the questions we ask obviously is, who did you vote? And we correlate it with the caste of the respondent later on, and thus arrive at a certain estimate. I would say that I would rely on it because generally our estimates have been accurate with a difference of 1 to 2 percentage points either way. So then what do you see? In 2014, for example, Lok Sabha, or since we are discussing assembly, I will focus only on assembly. 2014 assembly, Congress got only 11% Maratha votes. NCP got only 18% Maratha votes, whereas the BJP got 24% and the Shiv Sena got 30%. So in a sense, in 2014, Shiv Sena could have claimed that it was the party getting largest proportion of Maratha votes. But obviously the total doesn't add up to 100 because a large number of Marathas actually vote for independents, rebels, and others in assembly election. In 2019, more or less the same picture. I will not bore you with statistical details, but the small point is that Maratha vote for the Yuti, that is BJP Shiv Sena, increased in 2019. And finally, and these are all in public domain actually, you can later on check those figures. In 2024 Lok Sabha elections, more recently, Congress gets only 14% Maratha votes. Its allies together, which means NCP Sharad Pawar and Shiv Sena Thackeray, got 25% Maratha votes among themselves, whereas BJP got 27% Maratha votes, but its allies got only 19% Maratha votes. Forget the numbers. The point then is that, as I said earlier, it's a fourfold division or more than fourfold division as far as the Maratha vote is concerned. OBC vote is slightly more in favor of BJP and the earlier United Shiv Sena, but we don't know now whether with the split of Shiv Sena, OBC vote also will get split. So that is where we stand. That in a sense, competitive politics today in Maharashtra means that the voting patterns when politics was not so competitive don't apply today. And Maratha and OBC, both communities or groups, are splintered or fragmented.
There are a couple of questions. One request was from national group is, if you could tell us, since this whole series is titled as election series, and this caste divide is going to stay, impact and play out in this election and even future state elections. If you could tell us overview perspective, how it is going to, not only for Maharashtra, but how it is going to play out and stay there for other states as well. And the second question is about caste census.
Yeah, the first, I believe, is this question of Maharashtra's significance or Maharashtra elections significance nationally, or was
yes, you could answer that, but overall in every state, as you mentioned, Gujar, in every state there is this caste-based fragmentation, right? We can see.
Yeah. Oh, if that's the question, then currently we are facing elections in Haryana, where historically Jats have always consolidated behind one party only. Always. That's the difference between Maharashtra and Haryana. That whereas in Maharashtra, Marathas are fragmented, the Jats who are fighting for their reservations in Haryana always consolidate behind one party. But that is because they have so far their own party. The Lokadal or INLD or whatever name by which that outfit goes, Dushyant Chautala or this Chautala or the other, Jats rally behind them. Congress has been trying very hard to get the Jat vote rallied behind it. And if that happens, then Congress can tilt the balance of electoral competition in Haryana. But nationally, Maharashtra election would probably be more important, mainly because Maharashtra is a state where the BJP made this experiment of engineering splits in two political parties and thus destabilizing the entire political arena. Also, with 48 Lok Sabha seats, Maharashtra is obviously an important state, and its leaders, particularly leaders like Gadkari and Fadnavis, are seen as potential players at the all India level in the BJP. They are not exactly cozy with each other, as you media persons would know already. And therefore, if assembly is lost by the BJP, then Fadnavis's stock in the BJP would naturally go down. That's the reason why this election will be important nationally for the BJP about what is going to happen. It is also going to be important because obviously Maharashtra is one of the rich states and therefore who controls Maharashtra is going to and bound to be very significant for national politics. Congress has been very weak in Maharashtra. So I would suggest that don't go by Lok Sabha elections where Congress did very well. The real parties to watch in Maharashtra would obviously, apart from BJP, would be Sharad Pawar's NCP and the two factions of the Shiv Sena. These are going to be the major players about what is going to happen in these elections in Maharashtra. On caste census, I don't think we need to go into that discussion right now, but it looks like gradually and very quietly, BJP will accept the idea of caste census. Of course, the real question is, what do you do of that caste census? And that takes a very long time. Even if census were to take place next year, that census would complete in 1 year's time, and only then you would have numbers available. Unless you correlate those numbers with other demographic parameters like education, income, occupation, you can't really make anything out of it. Even the Bihar government, although it publicized its caste census, hasn't really honestly come out with what is the socio-economic condition of different castes in Bihar. No government would want that. Governments in India really are very worried about caste numbers and caste situation, because that would open up possibilities for further fragmentation in the society. So I think caste census, if the question is whether I support caste census or not, I don't think that's an important question, because I am not relevant to this power structure. So whether I support it or not is immaterial. The point is that our parties are just not interested in policies based on information and enumeration. They are interested in using everything for only purposes of immediate politicization.
Yes, there are two questions basically, but I think we can take those two questions together. First, it's about what is the role of agrarian crisis in the reservation demand, say from Maharashtra to North India, if we go. And then there is also demand that has the socio-economical political status of Marathas and Kunbij change over the past decades or so to give a push to the reservation demand.
Yeah, I can see those questions here on the screen. On the second question, which political party has historically really backed Marathas in their demand for reservation? That word really makes me somewhat hesitant to answer the question, because every party has supported Maratha reservation. One by one, all parties have come out in open supporting that demand. And no party really has any wherewithal to really support it, because really support it would mean that BJP should go to the center saying that let us expand 50% ceiling. That's the only way they can do it. Or let us legislate and overcome the original Mandal ruling, which put 50% ceiling. So that's a question of assessment. On the first question, available data, and many economists have written about it, suggests that there is agrarian crisis in Maharashtra, which has actually hurt both Kumbis and Marathas, but also many other peasant castes. Because remember that Malis or Telis in Vidarbha or Vanjaris in Marathwada are also peasant castes. They are farming communities. So their condition has also deteriorated as a result of the agrarian crisis. So it is not that only Marathas' condition have deteriorated. It is the entire agrarian community whose conditions have deteriorated. Studies based on India Human Development Survey, which have been published in Economic and Political Weekly, have shown that in spite of this deterioration, the condition of Marathas is slightly better than the OBCs on an average. So there is relative deprivation among the Marathas, true. The difficulty about Marathas' deprivation is that though Marathas are a peasant community, they have also shifted away from agriculture to many non-agrarian professions. And they are not doing well in those professions either. It is this community, therefore, which is restless, not because of agrarian crisis alone, but also because its own transition from agriculture to non-agriculture has been very painful. It is that transition and the pain of that transition that is hurting the Marathas the most.
Yes. Before I move to other questions, I think Dipti is back
Yeah,
with good.
better try with
Yeah.
her. Yeah, better try with
Am
her.
I, yeah.
Dipti, feel
Am
free to
am I?
speak.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great.
Yes, yes, you're
Am I?
audible.
Yeah. Thanks. Thanks, and sorry also. I
No,
will
yeah, Dipti,
take
yes,
this
you can
discussion. Yes.
continue. Huh,
Yes.
yes.
I will just
About
add
field
whatever.
report.
Yeah. Yes, whatever theory and articulation, yeah, and analysis Dr. Palshikar sir has put, it is absolutely clear. And what we are experiencing on the field is this agrarian crisis, which is the core issue of creating vacuum at grassroots and in rural Maharashtra, which we saw, which resulted, which we called as a suicides of farmers. Majority of the farmers who committed suicides were Marathas. Then we witnessed a series of young people, youth who committed suicide on the demand of reservation. In central election, there were 10 youngsters who committed suicide on defeat of Pankaja Munde. And now, in this week, we are coming with the cases and reports of suicides from youngsters who are involved in Dhangar agitations, Dhangar demand of reservation. So, I'm, as a journalist, worried. The major crisis is about this emotional distress which we are facing because of lack of three E's. E, as I said, the first E which I'm experiencing is economical crisis. Second is about the education. In rural Maharashtra, there are lot of educational institutions. From where I'm reporting in Aurangabad, Chhatrapati Sambhajinagar, we can find at least 2 PhD holders in 100. But what about the quality of the education? Those youngsters who had committed suicides in demand of Maratha reservation, and they cannot write 4 lines in Marathi. So that is very pathetic condition of educational level, because of which, though they get this Kunbi certificate, they are not confident, or they are not able to compete with other youngsters in Pune or Mumbai or in metropolitan cities. So that is very big distress in youngsters in rural community, which is rising the frustration and depression at one level, and political parties who are taking this vacuum as a as for their politics, which is adding more depressing situation and communal and casteist reactions at grassroots, in villages, in colleges, in communities, in political parties. Everything is divided. All minds, all heads are divided so drastically that it
So Dipti,
is very
yes,
burning.
yes, true burning. And Dipti, if you could quickly tell us about the government has issued that Marathas can apply for Kunbi certificates. As we have discussed how it is playing out on national level and state level, what is the ground reality? Is it easy for a Maratha person to get a Kunbi certificate after the Jarange Patil's protest?
No, actually, more than the committee, Shinde committee was appointed. This committee came out with 40,000 proofs of Kunbis are Marathas, but the government is able to issue 1,50,000 certificates. But later, as Palshikar sir pointed out, there were the all these certificates were opposed. They were taken objections
Sorry, Dipti, I
from
think your network is
OBC
getting bad.
community.
Yes. Prachi, if you could mute her, I think her network is really bad.
Now it is not
We
easy
cannot hear.
break.
Wait, 1 second. Huh? Dipti, your voice is breaking. Really sorry. Yeah, but I mean, sir, what we are understanding is the same thing. It is divided everywhere. If we can go back to these questions again, 1 second. Huh? I think you have answered some
Yeah,
questions.
on the subclassification, I have already answered. On
Okay.
what Ms. Dipti was saying, I think
Yeah.
one can only emphasize the point about this question of education. It's not so much merely unemployment, but underemployment or hidden unemployment. And that is part of the entire rural hinterlands of Maharashtra. So, in a sense, the Maratha crisis represents and symbolizes that problem of the state.
Yeah. Pooja has asked a question that is there any genuine desire to improve the agrarian situation? In a recent conversation, Amitabh Kant and Vikram Mehta spoke about the need. Sorry. I think new question just popped up. So. Yeah.
No, as far as agriculture is concerned,
1 second. I'll just need to reduce the percentage of population involved in agriculture as part of moving towards the goal of becoming a developed nation by 2050. I think Sharad Pawar has been very vocal of this ideology that we should make it less dependent on agriculture in the state. But is it possible?
it's not possible unless you create an infrastructure for people going into other occupations. And that's exactly the point that Maharashtra is facing, not today, but for last 25 years. Because Sharad Pawar originally argued about this transition from agriculture to non-agriculture in the 1990s. And nothing has happened since then at the policy level. So you just leave people on their own, saying that don't get involved in agriculture and go and do something else. And what do? In terms of skill, no skills are imparted. In terms of education, no good education is imparted. In terms of development of towns, nothing happens. And as a result of that, there is a stagnation in the economy of the state. So the politics that we witness in Maharashtra, the frustrations, the animosities, everything is in a sense directly connected to this entire bankruptcy of the political establishment. And I wouldn't name any single party for that because all parties are complicit in that.
Yes. So there is another question that we have spoken about. Maratha vote is divided. Different percentage between the Bharatiya Janata Party, Congress, and Sena, etc. What are the key factors? What are the key factors? Factors why Marathas go for one particular party? Go for each of the three big name. Like what do they back in these parties? That is the question.
No, that is unlikely to happen simply because Marathas, for a simplistic understanding, can be understood as one block. But there are internal economic differences among Marathas, not just the social differences between Marathas and Kumbis, etc. But more than that, Marathas do not have a strong, acceptable leadership currently. The last leader who was acceptable to the larger sections of the Maratha community was Sharad Pawar. He has ceased to be acceptable now like he was earlier. And with that, we don't have any acceptable leader. But at the same time, the Maratha community is very angry with all local leaders from their own community. So there is a kind of double vacuum. One vacuum is at the top that there is no leader. And the other vacuum is because Marathas don't trust their own representatives at the local level. That is what hurts Maratha interests the most. And yes, on this question about the way BJP has handled, the BJP handled it in such a cynical manner, the entire Maratha question, that Other communities are obviously now enthused that they can also mobilize, they can create a leadership and make certain demands, and that will continue. And Maharashtra is therefore, like many other states, but Maharashtra particularly, is on the verge of conflicts across castes between one
I
caste
have a
and the other.
yes, but I also wanted to ask you, we have seen smaller, violent fights, but do you think that Maharashtra see this danger of one community is pitted against another? Say Marathas against Maratha, who are getting Kundi certificate, who are not getting, are fighting against each other. Marathas are fighting against OBC, Dhangas are fighting against ST are opposing Dhangas, and this whole, do you see the danger of violence or, unrest, communal unrest
Yes.
or caste-based unrest?
Yes, as you yourself would recall, I have been seeing for the past at least couple of years that the question which political party will benefit from this is in a sense irrelevant to me, because uh, the entire state and the society in this state is going to be completely demolished from bottom. The kind of relations that exist at the local level among communities will get destroyed. And once you have destroyed that social base, there is just no point in doing politics. So all these political parties that now at the election time speak of reservations are actually sitting on a volcano.
Jahnavi has asked one question. Demand for Maratha reservation seems to have gotten more momentum in recent decade. Do you think the rise of social media? I think she's asking about social media has any actual impact on this increasing demand?
As in other cases, social media has only aggravated the issue, yes. But I don't think that that is the cause of it. The cause obviously is twofold or threefold, I should say. The apparent cause is the party competition, that many parties are in competition with each other. The second is, as I said, the collapse of Maratha leadership itself. And the third is economic and agrarian crisis that the state has been facing. Whatever numbers are thrown at us by the rulers, the fact remains that except Mumbai, the economic data for the entire state is pathetic. And therefore, there is nothing to be happy about. Maharashtra looks great mainly because the data from urban centers like Mumbai and Pune is clubbed with the rest of the state. But otherwise, there is just nothing going on well in the state. And therefore, these are the three reasons: the political reason, the reason of Maratha internal competition, and more importantly, the reason of the economy.
Nirupama has asked, given the fragmentation of the Maratha vote, what is the future of Maharashtra's two regional parties which have made a holy grail of the issue, of this issue?
No, all parties will have to create their own new social bases now. I mean, no party can say that, okay, we will only work with Marathas and get the votes, or we will work only with the Mumbai Marathi people and get votes. That kind of politics has absolutely become redundant in Maharashtra now. And the good thing in all this probably is only this, that it will force all political parties to redefine their larger social strategies. That is not going to happen in this election, but after this election, that might happen.
Yeah, I think, sir, earlier Jahnavi has asked about not only social media, but also about how information technology has been affecting politics and then caste-based politics, particularly in the frame of Maharashtra.
Yes, but again, I don't think I have anything special to say about it. Generally, the explosion of this media is paradoxical, as all of us know, that it brings some kind of equalization. Anyone can have a voice, can express herself or himself, etc. At the same time, it opens up possibilities for all kinds of virulent, abusive exchanges across social groups. So we are living with it. And this is not just about Maharashtra, it is for all other states as well.
Let me just check if there are any.
Maybe
more.
you can check about the voice quality from Dipti's side.
No, I think she has been typing on the
Yeah.
group, but Dipti, are you back?
Because she has given this data actually here as to how
Dipti.
many got Maratha community received certificates.
Yes. Shweta Desai has another question. Jarange Patil has declared he will field Maratha candidates. OBC leader Lakshman Hake is also planning to field. Second. OBC candidate. Do you think Marathas and OBC will be encouraged to vote for their?
Yeah. I'm sure that is going to be an extremely bad precedent this time.
Yeah.
Just as we were slowly getting into a phase where people would vote across their caste, now people
Yeah.
will be back to voting only on the basis of caste. I mean, in political science, it's only last few years that we started saying that caste is not the only factor, and there
Yeah.
are other factors as well. Now suddenly, caste is becoming the central factor, and that would mean also candidate selection. So all of us as students of this election will have to watch carefully how candidates are selected by different parties, who is given candidature where, whether Marathas are pitched against Marathas or Marathas are pitched against OBCs. That kind of calculus will have to be watched very carefully.
So for their caste candidates and not mainstream parties, I mean, people will vote looking at their caste, you feel?
Yeah, and therefore, obviously, then you will have more independence in the elections.
Yeah.
And an independent candidate having the right caste at the local level and having enough resources, if an independent candidate can get around 75,000 votes, the candidate can even get through. So I won't be surprised if this time we would have a large number of independent MLAs, not just independent candidates, but independent MLAs. And remember, they would be getting elected on the basis of these caste local equations. Once they are elected, they are free individuals. They can go anywhere and do whatever they like. So that would add to the instability post-election.
Yes. One specific, because you mentioned that in previous interviews.
No, now your voice has gone.
Sorry, am I audible?
Now yes.
Yes, sorry. In previous interview and today you emphasize on Maharashtra is sitting on a volcano. As we wrap up this first session, I wanted to ask you, do you see a leader who can pacify the tensions in the state, say for the next decade?
The answer to that question is very easily no.
Okay.
Probably if you tweak your question a little bit and say that at least are there leaders who would want to pacify the situation? I wouldn't name anyone because that will always be provocative, but I would say that it's possible that there are a few who would want to pacify but don't have the ability to do that. It's actually a failure of leadership that they don't now have the leading role to pacify the public on emotive issues. You know, the larger bottom line I have is this, that once you have created a politics which is based on emotionally unsettling the people, and we have that politics for last 10 years that has emerged since 2014. Once you have done that, then pacification of caste rivalries is not going to work, because you have actually enriched your politics, you have strengthened your politics on the basis of this emotional blackmail of the ordinary citizen. Having done that, that is, you know, in mythology, you have this Bhasmasur mythology. That's like that. It's going to burn all of us.
That is asking, more than the caste issue, the breach of trust by MLAs will be the crucial factor deciding the outcome in polls. This is in reference to your earlier answer of
Yes,
instability and independence.
But what is breach of trust by MLAs? I'm not getting it. Maybe you can come back.
If I think Neeta, if you can type it, but I think what she means is if they are going to change the sites,
Okay. I will wait a couple of seconds. In the meanwhile, the last thing is the
Hebze has.
Yeah, okay. I think that's going to be the central issue, that all parties will have MLAs who will have very weak affiliation with the party, and therefore it would be a free for all if there is no clear majority for any particular group or alliance. And by clear, I mean Maharashtra requires 144. So unless some group or bloc gets 180, it will be a free for all as far as MLAs are concerned.
Hebze, Nirupama, 2 questions. I hope you are fine.
Maybe before we wrap up, I will just quickly answer these 2 questions. On whether caste politics is a necessary weapon against communal. I don't believe in it. I think both are equally bad. Communal politics is more nationwide and therefore worse, in my opinion. But creating caste rivalries and pitching one caste against another in the name of caste mobilization and in the name of our caste better than your caste or our caste worse than your caste is no good answer to the kind of communal politics that India has had. And on the end of ideology politics, I think locally, if you move around and talk to people, yes, you think that there is politics which doesn't have ideology. And yet, curiously, ideology drives at the top many political parties. And therefore, we are in a very complex situation where locally politics is devoid of any ideology, but the binding feature of that politics, once elections are over, is often ideology. Not ideology in the left and right sense, but ideology in the typical Indian sense.
Yeah. So I think that's it. Prachi, Sandhya, I think we are done with the questions, right? Yes, it was a thought-provoking session, and as Prachi said, thank you, Professor Suhas Palshikar, sir, and Dipti. I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry that I haven't sort of eaten away into her time, and also if
That's
she
fine,
wanted
sir.
to, she wanted to contradict something that I said, she didn't have the opportunity. But maybe I will speak to her on the phone.
Yes, and if you don't mind taking the last question, I think Pooja just typed one question. Why do you think there is a repeated return to communal and caste politics?
Well, communal politics, the return is mainly because it is designed by a particular political party. Caste politics, there is a return because it is a very quick resort for a lazy politician. That if you want to do politics, but if you don't want to invest in politics really, then the simple and easy thing is to do caste politics.
Yes, true. So thank you, sir, for your insightful and presentation on this critical issue. I would like to express my sincere thanks to everyone for being a part of this session. Your time, enthusiasm, insights, and patience are greatly appreciated. With this, I think we close the session.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Do you want to add anything, sir?
No, my pleasure. Bye.
Yes. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.